Welcome back, Journeyman, to episode 13 of the podcast, where we take your curious questions and dive deep into the source material you provide. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future explorations.
Yeah.
Today, we're tackling a question that's probably haunted all of us at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Why do bad people seem to get ahead in life? To unravel this mystery, we're turning to a YouTube video that analyzes Nietzsche's ideas on power, morality, and success.
It's a great choice.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because the video doesn't sugarcoat anything. It dives right into this uncomfortable observation that ruthlessness often seems to trump fairness in the real world.
Right.
It even uses vivid examples
Yeah.
like cutthroat CEOs and those emperors from history who just crushed anyone in their path.
Right.
It really sets the stage for this deep dive into Nietzsche's philosophy.
It's like the video throws down a gauntlet, challenging us to confront this age-old dilemma.
Yeah.
And that's where Nietzsche's ideas come in, offering a framework for understanding this seemingly unfair reality.
Right.
The video specifically highlights his concepts of master morality and slave morality.
Yes.
Can you unpack those for us?
Absolutely.
Great.
The video explains that master morality is all about strength, ambition, and the drive to shape the world according to your own will.
Okay.
What's fascinating is that those who embody this morality define their own values.
Oh, wow.
They don't seek external approval or validation.
Right.
They set their own standards for success and achievement.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it's not about being bad or good in the traditional sense,
Right.
but about operating from a completely different set of values.
Yeah.
One that prioritizes power and self-assertion.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this is where the contrast with slave morality becomes so interesting.
Okay.
As the video points out, slave morality is rooted in humility, obedience, and a view of power as inherently evil.
Okay.
It emphasizes compassion, empathy, and concern for the well-being of others.
So we have these two contrasting moral frameworks. One emphasizing strength and self-determination, the other focusing on compassion and humility.
Right.
But how does this explain why ruthlessness seems to win out so often?
That's where it gets really insightful.
Okay.
The video suggests that slave morality, with its emphasis on condemning ambition and power, might actually be inadvertently contributing to the success of those who operate by master morality.
Wow.
It's like by demonizing these traits, slave morality leaves the playing field wide open for the ruthless to seize power and advance their own agendas.
So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Those who are driven by ambition and power are unchecked because those who might oppose them are held back by their own moral framework.
Exactly.
Wow.
While those who prioritize fairness and compassion might hesitate,
Right.
those who adhere to master morality are already taking action, seizing opportunities, and consolidating their power.
But wouldn't this lead to a world where everyone's constantly backstabbing and manipulating each other to get ahead?
Sure.
It sounds like a recipe for chaos and constant anxiety.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And the video does acknowledge that relying solely on ruthlessness can create its own set of problems.
Okay.
In fact, it points out that while ruthlessness can lead to initial success,
Uh-huh.
it's often not sustainable in the long run.
Interesting.
There are countless examples throughout history of tyrants who, despite achieving great power through ruthless means, eventually face their downfall.
So there's a sort of built-in expiration date to this kind of power grab.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
Because power attained through force and manipulation often lacks a stable foundation.
I see.
It creates resentment, breeds rebellion, and ultimately collapses under its own weight.
Oh, wow.
The video uses historical examples of tyrannical rulers who fell from grace precisely because their power was based on fear and control rather than genuine leadership and respect.
So if we're being honest with ourselves, the world doesn't always operate on a system of fairness and just desserts.
Right.
Those who cling to that belief might be setting themselves up for disappointment or even worse, exploitation.
That's a crucial insight.
Yeah.
The video really challenges viewers to confront the gap between this idealistic notion of a fair world and the reality of power dynamics.
Right.
It suggests that understanding how power actually works, even if it's uncomfortable, is essential for navigating the world effectively.
So what's the solution then?
Well,
Are we all doomed to become Machiavellian schemers just to survive? Should we abandon our morals and embrace cutthroat tactics?
not at all. The video actually offers a more nuanced perspective.
Okay.
It emphasizes that the key isn't to become blindly ruthless, but to balance integrity with strategic thinking.
Okay.
It encourages viewers to learn the unspoken rules of the game without sacrificing their own values in the process.
So it's about being wise to the realities of power dynamics, understanding the motivations of those who operate by different rules,
Right.
but not necessarily abandoning your own moral compass. It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
It is, and that's where the video introduces another fascinating concept from Nietzsche,
Okay.
the Übermensch.
Ah, yes, the Übermensch, the Superman. Is this where we all start wearing capes and tights?
Ha ha ha! Not quite.
Okay,
Though the translation Superman does capture a certain element of transcendence.
right.
What's important to understand is that the Übermensch, as presented in the video,
Mm-hmm.
isn't about dominating others or achieving superhuman abilities.
Okay,
It's more about self-mastery,
right.
creating your own values,
Uh-huh.
and shaping your destiny according to your own will.
Okay,
The Übermensch embodies the will to power,
yeah.
but not in a way that necessarily seeks to control or exploit others.
Okay, so it's less about brute force and more about inner strength and self-determination.
Yeah.
But how does one become an Übermensch? Is there a secret handshake or a special training montage involved?
The video doesn't offer a step-by-step guide,
Okay.
but it does provide some really insightful takeaways that we can explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, great.
What stands out to you so far about this idea of the Übermensch?
For me, it's the emphasis on creating your own values and forging your own path.
Mm-hmm.
The pretty empowering concept, especially in a world where we're often told to conform to pre-existing norms and expectations.
Absolutely, and that's a perfect segue into part 2 of our deep dive.
Great.
We'll pick up this thread and explore some of the practical applications of Nietzsche's ideas. But before we go,
Okay.
be sure to like and subscribe to the Journeyman podcast if you're enjoying this exploration.
Yes, definitely do that.
See you in part 2.
See you then. Welcome back to the Journeyman podcast, where we're exploring the ideas of Nietzsche and grappling with this question of why bad people seem to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Before the break, we were talking about this intriguing concept of the Übermensch,
Right.
the one who forges their own path.
Yeah.
But the video we're deep diving into doesn't just stop at these philosophical concepts.
Yeah.
It actually connects them to psychology and real-world examples.
That's what makes this video so compelling. It
Yeah.
bridges the gap between abstract philosophy
Uh-huh.
and practical application. For instance, it dives into the psychology of power,
Okay.
highlighting how certain traits that are often seen as negative, like
Mhm.
ambition,
Okay.
low fear sensitivity,
Uh-huh.
and even a reduced sense of empathy can actually be advantageous in competitive environments.
That's a bit unsettling, isn't it?
Well,
It suggests that some of the qualities we typically associate with ruthlessness might actually be contributing factors to success in certain contexts.
yeah,
It challenges our assumptions about what it takes to get ahead in the world.
it does. And the video doesn't shy away from the complexity of this topic.
Right.
It acknowledges that these traits can be both beneficial and potentially destructive,
Uh-huh.
depending on how they're wielded.
Right.
Remember, we're not advocating for abandoning your moral compass,
Of course not.
but understanding the dynamics at play, the motivations of those who operate by different rules,
Right.
is crucial for navigating the real world effectively.
Right. It's about awareness and strategy.
Mm.
So back to the Übermensch.
Okay.
How do these psychological insights relate to this idea of self-mastery and forging your own path?
Well, the video suggests that the Ubermensch isn't simply born.
Okay.
They're made.
Okay.
They cultivate these traits not for the purpose of exploiting others,
Right.
but for self-actualization.
Okay.
They understand that the world doesn't always reward kindness and fairness,
Right.
so they develop the internal strength and resilience to navigate challenging situations without compromising their own values.
So it's about developing a sort of inner armor, not to become callous or unfeeling, but to protect yourself from being taken advantage of or losing sight of your own goals in the face of adversity.
Exactly, and this ties into the video's emphasis on the importance of strategic empathy.
Strategic empathy. That sounds like a bit of an oxymoron.
Right.
How can empathy be strategic?
It's about understanding people's motivations
Okay.
and anticipating their actions without becoming manipulative yourself.
Okay.
It's about reading people accurately, discerning their intentions,
Right.
and using that knowledge to make informed decisions.
Right.
It's not about exploiting others,
Right.
but about protecting yourself from those who might.
So it's like being a skilled poker player, able to read your opponent's tells and anticipate their moves, but without necessarily resorting to deception or underhanded tactics yourself.
That's a great analogy. It's about being perceptive and strategic in your interactions, understanding that not everyone operates from the same set of values or motivations.
The video also talks about cultivating internal power.
Yeah.
What exactly does that involve? Is it about hitting the gym and bulking up?
Haha, no, not in the literal sense.
Okay.
It's about facing your fears, embracing discomfort, and developing a strong sense of self-reliance.
Okay.
The video argues that those who are controlled by fear are more easily manipulated or taken advantage of.
So it's about building inner strength and resilience, not letting external pressures or negativity dictate your choices or actions.
Exactly.
It's about having the courage to stand up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult.
Precisely. And this connects back to the idea of the Übermensch. They're not beholden to external validation or approval.
Right.
They define their own worth and pursue their own goals with unwavering determination.
The video also mentions the importance of making tough decisions without hesitation.
Yes.
Is that about becoming more ruthless and cold-hearted?
Not at all. It's about being decisive and taking action when necessary.
Okay.
Even if it means making unpopular choices.
Right.
Remember, the Übermensch isn't afraid to challenge conventional morality. They don't blindly follow the crowd.
Okay.
They assess situations, make judgments based on their own values, and act accordingly.
So it's about being a leader, not a follower, having the courage to make the hard calls when they need to be made, even if it means going against the grain.
Right.
But how do you balance this decisiveness with integrity? How do you avoid becoming the very tyrant the video warns against?
That's where the concept of creating power comes in, which we can delve into more deeply after a quick break.
Oh, okay.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Journeyman Podcast. We're in the midst of this fascinating deep dive into Nietzsche's ideas on power, morality, and success, all sparked by a thought-provoking YouTube video our listener sent in.
Right.
Before the break, we were discussing the idea of creating power as opposed to simply taking it.
Yes.
It definitely piqued my curiosity.
It's a key distinction. The video makes it argues that true power, the kind that's sustainable and ultimately fulfilling,
Right.
comes from building something valuable, contributing to the world in a meaningful way.
Okay.
It could be a business, a movement, a work of art. Anything that creates positive change or adds value to society.
So it's not just about amassing power for personal gain or climbing the ladder of success at any cost.
Right.
It's about using your abilities and influence to make a positive impact on the world around you.
Exactly.
It's a much more inspiring and, dare I say, ethical approach to power.
Precisely. And this ties back to the concept of the Übermensch.
Okay.
The video suggests that the true Übermensch isn't just a conqueror.
Right.
They're a creator, a builder, an innovator. They use their will to power not to dominate others,
Right.
but to bring something new and valuable into existence.
It's almost like a reframing of what it means to be powerful. It's not about brute force or control over others,
Yeah.
but about the ability to shape your own destiny, contribute to society, and leave a positive mark on the world. It's a much more nuanced and, frankly, hopeful perspective than the one we often see in discussions about power.
And it challenges us to think about how we can cultivate that kind of power in our own lives.
Right.
It's not about waiting for someone to hand us power or trying to seize it from others.
Yeah.
It's about creating something worthy, something that naturally attracts influence and respect.
I love that shift in perspective. It's not about playing a zero-sum game where one person's gain is another person's loss.
Yeah.
It's about creating something that benefits everyone involved.
Exactly. And this circles back to the idea of balancing integrity with strategic thinking. The video encourages viewers to learn the rules of the game,
Right.
to understand how power dynamics work in the real world. But it also emphasizes the importance of staying true to your values,
Okay.
of not compromising your integrity in the pursuit of power.
So it's about being savvy and strategic, but not at the expense of your moral compass.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot where you can be effective in navigating the complexities of power without sacrificing your own ethical principles. That's a pretty tough balance to strike.
It is, and that's where the real work lies. The video doesn't offer easy answers or a step-by-step guide to achieving this balance.
Right.
It's more about asking the right questions, challenging our assumptions, and being willing to do the inner work necessary to develop there's our strategic skills and our moral compass.
It's like the video is giving us a map, not a set of turn-by-turn directions.
Yeah.
It's showing us the terrain, highlighting the potential pitfalls and opportunities, but ultimately leaving it up to us to chart our own course.
And that's what makes this exploration of Nietzsche's ideas so fascinating. He doesn't give us a set of rules to follow blindly.
Right.
He challenges us to think for ourselves, to question everything, and to create our own values and meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to know what's resonating most with you from this conversation.
Wow.
Is it the idea of creating power as opposed to taking it? Is it the concept of the Übermensch as a creator and innovator? Or is it the challenge of balancing integrity with strategic thinking in a world where the rules often seem unfair? What are your takeaways?
It's been a rich discussion, and I think there's something in here for everyone.
Yeah.
If we connect this back to the bigger picture, what does it mean for you to master power in your own life? Is it about leading a team, building a business, or simply having the courage to speak your truth? These are questions worth pondering.
Absolutely. And for all of our journeymen out there listening, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this deep dive.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you then.